So, dear friends, we are almost in the middle of February and it has been a good time for us. Many things have happened, perhaps good things, sad things, but at the same time, the consolation that God is leading us. Let me begin with the message of this week or this weekend, the gospel message. It's a beautiful message, perhaps something that goes beyond our understanding and our capacity to comprehend also. Because things are not just yes and no, sometimes it goes beyond yes, beyond no. The gospel of the day is the sixth Sunday, and the gospel is the continuation of the Sermon on the Mount, chapter 5 of Matthew. And in this gospel, we see that Jesus means much more than he says. It's like saying, reading in between lines, or perhaps going even beyond the lines. We know what is good, we know what is evil, and surely do good and avoid evil is the greatest moral principle. But Jesus says, it's not that just a law that you have to follow. There are laws. When you walk on the road, you have to walk on the left side. The traffic has to be this side, that side. You have to make signs. And when you don't do it, surely there are accidents. But then, the law of Christ is not just a written law to be observed. It is a law of freedom. It is a law that does not obstruct people, but rather goes beyond. So therefore, the gospel of today would be going beyond the good, going a lesser or backward for the evil. As I said, it's a law of freedom. It's not a law of obstruction. It's not a law that restricts us, don't do this, don't do that. If I may give some examples, going beyond the law. We say the principle of what called walking the extra mile, doing something more than what is asked of you. Or perhaps not even trying to achieve to avoid that evil, but then don't even come close to it. Yesterday I was there for a school function, and the priest was so grateful for his teachers, and so in his speech he remarked about one particular teacher. He says he impressed him very much. And this teacher, the school starts at 9:30, I do not know. But he says he used to come at 8 o'clock and gather the students, and he was teaching them the handwriting. A simple question, the school starts at 9. Why should the teacher bother to come a little earlier? But this is the spirit of Jesus. So also I remember, I think last week or week before that, there's a mother who came with her daughter. The daughter was a doctor, passed out one from our colleges, a good doctor, and she was already an accomplished doctor working in one of the hospitals. And so the mother seemed to be complaining that her work gets over at 5 o'clock. But she arrives at home at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Why can't she, like the others, just come, leave everything and come? And the doctor smiles and says, Bishop, if there is a patient who is dying or perhaps in critical condition, can I just throw my coat, my stethoscope and say that my time is over? Surely this is the spirit of Jesus. And this is what he's asking. He's asking us for. And so also for the evil things, there's the commandment to not commit adultery. But Jesus says even to look at a woman lustfully is already committing adultery in the heart. We have heard it said that you have to honor your parents. But then the gospel says, even to say something evil about them, it's already coming close to sin. And so the examples that Jesus gives are wonderful examples. When someone is going to offer something, an offering is already perhaps destined or marked, the timing is marked, you have to go and do your rubrics there, you have to do your liturgy there. But Jesus says, perhaps when you start your rubrics or liturgy, your sacrifice, suddenly you remember that you have something against someone. Jesus says, leave it there. Perhaps even the people can wait, but then you go and make peace with that man. It's not written anywhere in the law. It's beyond the law. As I said, walking the extra mile. And so I think today's gospel gives us a little more than our own normal breakfast, a normal lunch or normal dinner. Jesus gives us much more. It's not only the quantity, but also the quality of our service, the quality of our life, the quality of our approach to certain things. In moral theology, there is a principle: not only avoid sin, but avoid occasions of sin. If you know that perhaps when you go to a particular place, you will be forced or tempted to do this and that, avoid going there itself. On the other hand, as regards to doing good, become extra generous, extra perhaps a little more overflowing to say that nothing matters. I am not paid for that extra hour. I am not paid OT. But then what I do perhaps come back to me one day in some way in the blessings of God. My dear friends, I now take you to, as I said, many things happened this week. And last week there was a beautiful program in our St. Lucius School and College, where the Catechetical Commission of our diocese, Archdiocese, Father Jude Conrad Santosh is the secretary. He, along with his commission, gathered about 650 children in one place. And the purpose was to honor them, or rather to reward them for the success they had obtained in the catechism exams. The catechism. They were toppers, the first 3 toppers from each class, as it were, on each subject, and all the Archdiocese. The whole campus was flowing with children. And I also saw that some of the parents had taken the trouble to come with your children. And half a day they spent not only to receive the awards, but also to be instructed in many things of catechism. I myself was there. I celebrated the Eucharist, and I was very happy to see not only the children, the parents responding so well. As I said, I'm particularly impressed because catechism these days perhaps is not given its due regard in many of our institutions. There are some who do it very seriously, and there are some parents who support us. Of course, there are others who say that why catechism? Why waste our time? We could do computers, we could go for tuitions. Why the exams like this? Why the exams like that? Why have we to, as good as saying, why have we to waste our time in catechism? It's the other way about it. It's an investment. It's a big investment. I was reading an advertisement where they said, if you give a certain amount when a child is born, when the child is 18-year-old, there will be a big lump sum gathered along with the interest for the education of the child. It's something like that. It's not a monetary. But then when you invest in catechism, you are preparing the child for greater challenges. You can prepare the child for an exam in maths, in science, but when difficulties come in life, when there are challenges in life, when there are multiple choices of good and evil, perhaps what would the child choose? It will choose, and at the back of its mind to say that this is right, this is wrong, this is the love of God, this is not what will please God, and therefore that is catechism. And I am very happy that Father Jude Santosh Conrad has taken a lot of difficulty, a lot of perhaps the encouragement that he gives to the children and the groups. And I am very grateful to his commission members. There are many of them. There are the teachers, the catechism teachers, who, as I said, they walk the extra mile, the extra, because they are not paid for their catechism classes. They are not given anything for what they have prepared. Perhaps what remains is the gratitude of the children that they have shown them the right way, the right path. And they have almost, the catechism rather sort of makes a map for the child to go forward. You know, when we go for some place that we do not know, we put the Google map to go this way, that way. Catechism is remotely a Bible or a spiritual map that is prepared for every child for the future. I encourage it, and I thank very much those who are taking a lot of problems, a lot of difficulties. In spite of problems and difficulties, we encourage. As this week, as you know, we have had a lot of events, and also this little sad event of the death of our Archbishop Emeritus Ignatius Paul Pinto of our Archdiocese. He was 98 years old, and he didn't trouble anybody as such. On the other hand, he was very alert, and one thing, God had blessed him with a very good memory. Anyone visiting him, he would locate that person there. I remember once when I took my own priest from my Archbishop's house to see him, when he saw this young priest, he said, of course, he was not ordained by him, but then when he said, I am from this particular parish, and he gave a little background, at once he told him his father's name. And the priest was overwhelmed to say that a bishop can remember these small details. That was Archbishop Pinto. As you know, he lived 98 years. He perhaps would have lived for 100 years if he had taken the treatment, but somehow he didn't want to go to the hospital. The last day when I met him, I said, Your Grace, you could have gone to the hospital. He said, why? And then I said, perhaps you could live for 100 years. He just smiled a little, even in his deathbed, and said that, why not beyond 100 years? And that was Archbishop Pinto. You know, he was born in 1925, 18th May. He was ordained a priest for this Archdiocese. He also studied for this Archdiocese and was ordained on 24th of August 1952. He was ordained a bishop of Shimoga, the Diocese of Shimoga, where he has built a beautiful cathedral. Perhaps they say one of the second biggest cathedral in Asia. They say, I do not know. The statistics have to be found out. That time it was perhaps. Now there are new cathedrals. And so he was ordained as bishop on 31st of January 1989. And he was promoted to the Archbishop of Bangalore on 10th September 1998. He was Archbishop for almost 6 years of this before Archbishop Bernard Morris could take over. And the ceremony was really impressive. He died on 8th of February. He was buried on 10th of February in our cathedral. And as I said, the ceremony was very impressive, dignified. And so many bishops were there. The president of the Catholic Bishop Conference of India, Archbishop Andrews Talat, was also there, as also the other bishops of Karnataka, about I think 10 of them, more than 200 priests, 200 sisters, their own family members. And so it was a very impressive ceremony. Someone told me that it's almost 60 years that we buried a bishop amongst us in the cathedral of our own Archdiocese, and therefore it was an impressive and a holy ceremony. Regarding Archbishop Pinto, there are many things said. He was a good administrator. He was perhaps a very strict man, strict for himself and the others. He wanted the correct way, to do the things in the correct way, whether in the altar, whether in the accounts, whether in the office, whether in the parish, everything to be done according to the system that is there. He was an expert in canon law. He was expert in liturgy, though he had not studied this subject as specializations. More than anything else, he loved the priests. He visited them. He started many parishes and institutions. He took care of them during his time. He was also very much close to the poor people. Perhaps he looked very strict and little imposing, but then his heart melted when he heard the stories of the poor people. And so we say, long live Archbishop Pinto in our hearts and our minds. May the Almighty grant him peace in the eternal life. The Sannyasa Sangama. As you know, the word itself, sannyasa, is detachment. A detachment, that we are detached with everything. And Sangama is a gathering. What am I referring to? I am referring to the gathering of the religious priests, religious brothers, religious sisters in Bangalore, which is held once a year, and they call it a Sannyasa Sangama, of coming together to discuss matters of importance as also exchange views and news among them. The CRI of Bangalore, of which Sister Sachinta Montero of St. Joseph of Tam Sisters is the president, and there are many office bearers. They organize themselves once a year, and this year the gathering was held on 5th of February in the Christ University Auditorium. There were about 600 of them gathered together that day, and the main speakers were Mr. A.J. Phillips, Mrs. Margaret Alva, and also their own office bearers and the challenges before them, and especially the religious. I also was invited, and I spoke to them about what we call the family, the year of the family. That the religious come from the families, the religious are part of the families, and their service is oriented towards the families. I said, besides that, as I said earlier, the extra mile is to also to go in visiting the families in their area, because that will connect them directly to the roots, as it were. It's easy to do administration, to sign the forms, to say that you are welcome, you are not welcome, you are passed, you are failed, you have to pay the fees, you have to put the uniforms. These are all normal things. But then to go beyond, to see from where the children are coming, from where the families are, how do they live, how do they perhaps combine their poverty, their inadequacy, at the same time. The children are what we call the world's stars for the future. And that's why I said the religious also have to visit the families and perhaps coordinated with the parish priest to say wherever they are, they don't have to go to the whole Archdiocese. At least they can visit the families that are there, located in your own place. I also spoke to them about the other problems of what we call telling the story of Jesus in spite of the different laws of the laws of the government that we cannot preach, we cannot proclaim, we cannot evangelize. I said these are all small things for us, because ultimately we are Christians because the story of Jesus has affected us, and our own stories are mingled with the story of Jesus, and telling them to the others, perhaps individually, or sharing our experiences, it's a great missionary work that we can do. And of course, the challenges that are before us, what we call the minority institutions and the other problems that we have, this is what also I put forward to them. But what I was impressed was the goodwill and the generosity of the religious to be always at the service of the Archdiocese. As you know, the religious are working in almost all the fields. They are in the parishes, they are in the pastoral works, they are in the hospitals, they are running many schools and institutions, they are running so many social centers, the specially abled, and also formation houses. There are many formation houses in Bangalore. So on this screen, as it were, I wish the religious of our Archdiocese, the fathers, the brothers and the sisters, not only a happy stay, but a happy activity and involvement in the whole Archdiocese. We are proud to say that we have had more than 3,500 religious in our Archdiocese. Welcome and be part of the Archdiocese. There's a special movement that's called the marriage encounter movement. You know, the marriage encounter movement is a very special movement. Perhaps the word says marriage encounter. Encounters in marriage. And therefore, encounters in marriage could be the encounter of the couples. Perhaps you may say they are there. They are staying together. They are working together. What's there to encounter? You know, familiarity breeds contempt, we see. Familiarity breeds contempt. When you are together, you almost take for granted. Perhaps when you have fallen in love at the first time, you are desperately wanting to meet your partner, desperately want to, some of them want to hurry the marriages, hurry the weddings, and perhaps, but then after some years, slowly things become, I would say, not normal. It's okay to be normal, but then it starts becoming even abnormal, that the partners get fed up of each other. The partners have no respect for each other, and there are small crises. I would say there's nothing bad in the crisis. There's nothing bad perhaps in the husband and wife. They always cannot be forever in what we call Valentine mood. Understood. You have to go along with your business, with your family. Every time you cannot have show of affection for the partners, but then we can't take for granted. And so these small pinpricks that are there in the weddings could fester into big wounds. So therefore, marriage encounter is one of those movements which tries to sort of bring the partners together, I would say, to weld the wedding. The wedding is a celebration, but it needs to be welded sometimes. You know, when there are cracks here and there, we need to make a facelift and do the welding as such. And so marriage encounter is a movement dedicated to help married couples and improve communication between each other with the goal of total unity, which is God's plan. And therefore these small cracks or pinpricks, I would say they are normal. Because, you know, Holy Father has said somewhere once, there's no such thing called as a perfect family. And the Pope even goes to the extent to say that if anyone says there is a perfect family, that my family is a perfect one, he says he or she is a liar. Which means these pinpricks or perhaps little cracks will always be there. But then how to heal them is good. You know, when there's a small wound, if you don't take care of it, it festers into a big sore, as it were. So don't wait for it to go to such an extent that you hate each other. You can always perhaps talk to each other, talk to each other, say that this is what happened. This is what perhaps I took it for granted. This is what I doubted. This is what perhaps angered me or perhaps irritated me. And then when you say this, you are sensitive to each other's needs. What is the perhaps that things that my wife does not want or doesn't like, or perhaps my husband cannot tolerate? These are the ways. The children are not involved in this stage. The couples are involved. And that's called the marriage encounter movement, which is worldwide. It was started worldwide, perhaps in Sri Lanka, in Bombay, in so many places, almost 50-60 years ago. And I'm happy to say there's a group also in Bangalore that is trying to bring together such couples and put them together. And it's called a weekend retreat or encounter. To tell you, it's going to take place in Bangalore itself on the 10th to 12th of February. I would request the couples, not in serious crisis, we have gone away, etc. I don't think there are some couples, perhaps, but then majority of us, perhaps good couples, we would like to refresh our marriage, we would like to renew our vows, and therefore experience that what could be. And there are some called the leader couples. The leader couples, they tell me that the ones who have really crisis, but having been healed of their crisis, they lead the other couples because they know the difficulty, because ultimately families matters a lot. You know, when a family breaks up, the husband and wife break up, perhaps they might find new partners, they might get a divorce, they might get annulment, okay. But then there is a lot of damage. Many a time a woman suffers much more in the marriage than the man. And more than the man and the woman, the children suffer very much. And so, my dear couples, that those that are perhaps a little in crisis, a little cracks here and there, try to make up. Perhaps you can come for this encounter, marriage encounter, and then and 12th of February, the placard will show you the time and the place and perhaps what is required to be brought. I wish you, and especially in this year of the family, a very happy married life for all of you. Before I take up the question, perhaps that is before me, I remind the people that today, 11th of February, is the feast of Our Lady of Lourdes. Fortunately, there's a big devotion in our Archdiocese for Our Lady of Lourdes. We have the Church of Whitefield, which is dedicated to Our Lady of Lourdes. A Church of Also, which is dedicated to Our Son. The church also in our KGF side, there are so many. Tumkur Church is also the Our Lady of Lourdes Church, and so this devotion is there. And more than the devotion, I remind you that the Holy Father has named the day of the feast of Our Lady of Lourdes as the Day of the Sick, the World Day of the Sick. And the Holy Father has given the theme also, take care of him. The Samaritan Gospel, wherein the Samaritan is carried to the inn and the Samaritan tells the innkeeper, take care of him, take care of her, which means every sick person is my brother, is my sister, and therefore we are asked to take care of them, not only in their medicinal or perhaps medical requirements, but also in charity and compassion, because perhaps what we do to them today will have to be done to us also someday when we are sick, when we are in trouble. So I wish everybody who celebrates the feast of Our Lady of Lourdes today, there are some who are celebrating on Sunday, perhaps a very happy feast. I now come to the question, a beautiful question and a pointed question at me and my administration. I am very happy. We are not perfect ourselves. And the question says, being in the IT city, number one, why are there no digital payments in the parishes of Bangalore? Many a time the parish priest, nor the manager and the parishioners, the parish priest is not available, nor the manager, and the parishioners are waiting to offer masses or any urgent services that are required. The second question is, why is there no database of parishioners available in the parishes? The first question is very obvious. We are in Bangalore, the Silicon City, perhaps much more modern and developed with IT, BT. And when this is the case all around, why our churches are still not perhaps a step backward? We have not yet come to the stage where we can even do the transactions online, or even perhaps the payments online, that anywhere. As you know, you go to the supermarket, you go to any counter, you go to any shop, there is a QR code, you take it and you pay it and you come, the things are over. I would say, yes, it's a pointed question to me and to my administration, and I have to take note of it and perhaps start working very seriously about it. In fact, we have started our work already. And we do have options of payment of gateway at the Archdiocesan level, where the faithful can click at the link which takes them to the portal of making payments for various causes. For example, the Mission Sunday, many of the parishes had this QR code, the COVID contributions, the Mass contributions, sometimes even the subscriptions. And I must say that not all the parishes have it. There are some parishes who have it, and we are trying to make it a foolproof system, Every system has its positive and negatives, and there are many who are trying also to hoodwink these systems, go beyond them, and also a little of fraud also takes place. So therefore, in order to make it foolproof, the QR code or perhaps the digital payments, our financial team is working very hard, and perhaps by the beginning of April, that's the next academic year, next economic year, we would be having placed in most of the parishes the digital systems of paying or the QR code, whatever it is. As I said, if we are slow, It's because we are cautious, perhaps even over-cautious. We need to be, because we don't want the system to be pilfered. And there are many people who are misusing, who are perhaps even trying to defraud, and we don't want the church money to be defrauded, the church money to be cheated in any way. And that's why we are taking a little more time, along with our auditors, with our experts, to do this system. Have a little patience with us. Secondly, about the database. Why is there no database of parishioners available in the parishes? In fact, the database is there. We have already gone with the accounts on cloud-based, and many of the parishes are cloud-based. They have their accounts and we check them. We can also advise them. So also our database, our census is fed into the computers, and that is also cloud-based, and each of the parish priests have the details of their own parishes. If they are not exposing it once again, to say that, there's something called privacy, the law of privacy. I cannot give the details that you give me, your age, your marriage, how many children, what is your income, or perhaps what is this one, that I just can't expose it to the public. Tomorrow you'll see that perhaps we are not comfortable by my names or my phone numbers being given to everybody and any one. But then those persons who are interested for purposes of importance or any relevance, the parish priest perhaps may share with you some details of the database that he has got in every parish. As we say, we go slow but speedily, or rather we go speed up but would like to go a little slow in these matters, so that your interest is protected, your privacy is protected, that we don't expose all the details of the names and the phone numbers and the other things to the people. That is why we are a little careful. We have told the parish priests not to perhaps put it on the public domain as such, but if those people who would like to have their own family details, or perhaps some other details, if there is someone who's coming to help us that is especially abled in our Archdiocese, how many are there? How many are physically handicapped? How many are mentally challenged? If you suppose someone wants these details, we would be happy to give you in order to help the diocese. Not once again, I don't want them to be exposed, any harm to be done to them. So my dear friends, I'm very happy. I hope my message reaches you in some way, and your questions, your details of what you would like to have, perhaps you can even share with us the challenges that the families are undergoing, so that we can help you. I wish you well. May this be a good week for you. Thank you.
My dear friends, I'm sure you have witnessed the shepherd's voice which is being presented by our beloved Archbishop, Most Reverend Dr. Peter Machado, the Archbishop of Bangalore, who takes so much of interest and concern in order to bring the various topics, the contextual aspects, in order to inform, educate, and catechize all of us, the priests, the religious, and faithful of this vast archdiocese. And I'm sure you are enjoying this program, Shepherd's Voice, and I request each one of you to share with your other colleagues, friends, and family and relatives, near and dear ones, so that everyone in this archdiocese can be more closer to listen to the Archbishop on this Shepherd's Voice, the weekly feature. My dear friends, as I've always told, that this is a wonderful platform wherein we can connect to the shepherd of this archdiocese, wherein he brings in the interesting topics in order to increase our devotion and love towards God, and also to know the spiritual matters that concerns our faith. In a very special way, you are most welcome to ask your questions, queries, and you can send them to us at archdblr@gmail.com, and you will also see our mobile number in and through which you can connect with our media center, Ave Studios, and the Archdiocesan Communication Center. Please do write to us your feedback, your opinions. Thank you. Continue to watch and continue to share with others.